The Real Angler Podcast with community Kevin Brennan is brought to you by Daiwa. If you want innovation and quality in your fishing products, Daiwa has what you need. Costa Sunglasses. Discover life's greatest adventures with Costa. Built to look good and be tough. Promar and Ahi USA. Premium fishing products and accessories with concepts developed by passionate anglers. Channel Island Sport Fishing. Offering deep-sea fishing on quality sport fishing charter boats. And more. Mossy Oak. From hot days in the water to sweltering afternoons in the woods, we've got you covered. Outfit your obsession. The Latino Business Expo, Ventura County's largest networking event. Special thanks to Bruce at Kirby Subaru in Ventura. It's the Real Angler Show, live here on Rough Edge FM. And now, here's your host, Kevin Brennan.
Good morning.
It's time for the Real Angler Podcast with community Kevin Brennan, and he'll tell you about our guests. Barry says hello. Let's go.
Let's go. So yeah, this is part of our community engagement things that we talk about here. So we have some community partners that are with us here today from the community garden. We got Zuli and Adriana. And let me just give you a little backstory on how we met and what we've already accomplished so far with our Guppy program and real community and education and culture and stuff like that that's going on. We are a partner with the local university out here, Cal State Channel Islands. And there was you got a chance to meet all the different partners, and we do stuff with our interns for nonprofit here. So when they said, Kev, do you mind if we bring some of our new staff and faculty out to your facility, if we can, introduce them to your program? I said, as long as I could jump on the bus and go with you guys to meet other community partners. So we went to OPAC, which we're going to be doing one of our extravaganzas for. And then we met at Community Garden to have lunch and checked out the garden, and we started getting an idea. So we met a time before that, and then we ended up taking our Guppy Rangers out there. And now we're going to go back in about a week to do it again, and then we're going to put part of that as the new episodes that are coming out. So again, real community effort with community partnerships from different ideas too. Again, this isn't all a fishing show. We talk about everything from nonprofit to other projects locally, and that way we could really get and I use that term right at your garden was cross-pollinating, how we cross-pollinate each other's brands and missions and audiences and stuff like that, so that everybody can find out about our cool different resources. So again, we're going to talk about that today. Plus, we don't script this. We kind of just go off of storytelling, and then something comes up, and then we even before we started, we talked a lot about the education and how things have changed through like public broadcasting when new movies coming out, such as A Butterfly in the Sky, and my favorite show, Reading Rainbow, to Bob Ross, to Jim Henson, and all these people that were doing the same type of educational work 40 years ago. And what's really changed is it really, anyway, I won't steal the thunder, but you might hear us going on about something like that here today. So anyway, good morning, ladies. How you guys doing?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Real Angler Studio. Again, thanks for coming to our facility. And, you've been supportive in the outreach stuff that we've done when we had our In the Park meeting, and we met and cross-pollinated multiple times. But I think this is the first time you've ever been on our podcast and on the studio. So what do you think, and what do you guys want to, anything particular you guys want to get in on first?
I'm excited. I'm really happy to be here. It's always cool to come and check out your space, and just other spaces and resources that are available. Kind of like what you said, we're very much about.
Can you move it just a bit? We won't play knees just so we can see you guys. Okay, there we go.
We're very much about cross-pollinating, like you said. And I think we're just excited to also go on the journey learning with you, with the little ones, also about the ocean life, about how to fish, because that's something myself and Adriana have wanted to do, and we've talked about. Others in our community garden are also vocal about, like, they're either very close to the ocean or they have no relationship to the ocean. And so that was something that that's nice that you're bringing into the garden.
Yeah, I think for me, it's also, like Zuli said, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to share what we're about. I'm excited also to connect. I think for us is aligning really with the people that have the same goals or same goals for the community. I always think about mycelium. We always talk about mycelium and how our networks like connect. And so this is a great connection, great partnership. I hope it definitely continues to
blossom. I like that. I had to throw a couple of those words in there. When we're doing it, when they were saying that, I was writing that down, because in a garden, and maybe we'll start there to tell people more about what exactly goes on in your garden and what your guys' mission was, how you got started. But in a nice garden, it's healthy, like an ecosystem. There's multiple things growing, right? You could be growing your flowers, you could be growing your fruits and vegetables, you could be growing your spices, we have row crops and like I say, flowers. So, and when you go into a garden and it has all different things growing, you see that, again, that term diversity that's used, but I mean, that's like an illustration of it right there, right? Like you don't want to, this is just my garden of all row, but you have these other little ones that are enhance the beauty by blending in together, right? And you really see a full, colorful garden and things sprouting at different times, right? So again, we're kind of going on that. So go ahead and tell, look at the camera there, nice and loud, and just kind of tell people what goes on at the community garden and what kind of helped you guys get started.
There's a lot that goes on. What you just shared right now, we're constantly co-creating with the garden, with nature. So it's never just like the person that's planting the seed. There's, like you said, there's already volunteers. There's already herbs and quote unquote weeds that people like to label that are actually medicinal, that just volunteer and they just grow because it's a living organism, the earth, right? Nature, the soil and everything. And it's very in tune with us and it knows what we need. So for example, dandelions grow everywhere in every lawn. And that's because we need a liver cleanse, because we need to be constantly like taking that in order to just be good and be detoxing. And that's something that like our bodies just naturally have to do. That's what composting is. That's what like all like this mycelium that Adriana was bringing up, that's what they share. But we, for some reason, are very disconnected with like the nature and our bodies being as if they work differently. But no, we have all these living organisms on our skin that we're unaware of, these little creepy crawlers or this and that. But they're all, we're a network. You're a whole living network of, functioning. It's not just us. And so that's why like these plants help you feed that living network that sometimes we're unconscious about. And
so what you feed yourself. So again, just getting on track when we're talking about content, right? Your mind, body, and your spirit, right? And what you feed yourself, whether it's what you're consuming content wise, but also me being a trainer and stuff before is what you consume inside, right? So what you consume in your mind, what you consume in your body, what you're eating is huge. And I don't think we get enough. Maybe it's the education that we don't get to break down again, or stuff like that. And I've heard you talk about it, meaning when you talked about it at your garden about how your body might be where you come from. Your body is used to eating this and breaking it down, and then you're moved, and now you're eating something that your body's not used to having, and it has a different effect. And that stood out to me when you started. I'm like, wow, that makes so, because I'm a nerd. I swear I'm a nerd. So when you started saying about that, I just knew that there was a deeper thing again about than just growing things in the garden, but the meaningfulness behind of the herbs and that, and you just seem so in tune with that, and that's important. Like it's like you, I feel like for you, like are, how do you, like just so in tune with nature, but like in earth, if I could say that about in such a vibrant way. So
yeah, I think
you get to work with, you guys work together.
We're
it's pretty
so
lucky. We're so lucky.
We are so lucky. We're best friends and we work together. I think for both of us, that's the reason why we started working at the garden. There was this disconnection with land, this connection with nature. For us, at least what I talk about during our tours or at the garden and the conversations that we have, we do have a garden where we grow stuff together, we grow food for community, but it goes beyond just the community garden for us. You can be an expert at a master gardener at everything, but if you're disconnected also with community, there's different levels, you could be disconnected with land, you could be disconnected with community, you can, but this is where we want to grow, build community, create community.
Growth. Growth, right?
Yeah.
How many people talk about growth, right? Honestly, let's just throw that in there real quick, right? That's like a big thing right now. Yeah. We're growing, we need to have our growth and, that sort of thing. And that's like a huge illustration, right?
Yeah, and so going back to why both of us started at the garden, it's because growing up here in Oxnard our whole lives, the way we know our relationship with land was of exploitation. So our parents were farm workers or they worked in factories, and so they told us to never work with land because they don't want to see us do the same type of work they're doing, So
that's real work, man.
Yeah.
That's some real, like, in the trenches, as they say, right? That's some real in the trenches work.
COVID taught us, right? That those are real workers, like that they're
essential
workers.
But I think when you say that, it's just, again, the level of how much work that puts on you per day, right? When you come home exhausted and doing that work and manual labor, like really like that when you tell your daughter or your kid, don't do what I did, because we know how hard and again, I'm going to use the term backbreaking, right? Saying bent over, doing these things, and how hard it really works. That our parents and our ancestors want us to have a little bit more comfort and convenience growing up for their grandchildren and children. This year, I know a lot of people going to a couple graduations, my daughters and the one at the university, how many first generation college graduates and high school graduates, my son graduating too. And they're here to make sure that their kids aren't, and their grandkids aren't doing, even though it's a great, admirable job, it's hard work, man.
And that's like going back to Adriana's share. That's basically like the pressure that we felt coming back from university, coming back from studying all that we studied and coming back to Oxnard and working at Community Roots, like choosing to do that. That very difficult, laborious work. And then plus the layers of unlearning those stigmas they're very real. They're created like very real because they were lived experiences that our parents had. But that's not how it needs to be. That's not how it should have been. And there's another world that could be created if we just take that responsibility on and that accountability of like doing it, because it's not for us necessarily. Like we know, like we're doing this work with knowing that we may not be the ones that are gonna like get to see all the mushrooms growing from all the mycelium growth and like connections. But that's fine because the future generations will, and that's what matters. Right. Because it's not, again, it's not like an instant gratification that we're going after, even though this world is very much just after like instant gratification, and it's hard to kind of fight that even within us. Like for ourselves, we find ourselves in the garden. We're like, this didn't happen like this. Then it's like, wait, it's all experimental. Okay, we don't need a pressure. We don't need to do this. We have so much abundance just because we didn't get all the corn. We have all the beans. We have like, it's just perspectives of different things and sharing. Like those folks maybe needed it more at that time, whether it be they needed it physically, spiritually, emotionally, they just needed whatever that was. And so it's like we're constantly having to unlearn and having to reprogram our brain to be more accepting in an abundant state of like sharing and not feeling scarce, because that's something that we come from.
You're touching on so many points right now. I want to let you get it out, but there's so many points. Like that's one of the things that we teach with why we like to go to your facility or go to your garden, is to show kids process. There's a process, and then as a dreamer, you got to plant those seeds, and you got to see that if you stay on it and you water it and you do the things that are necessary, you're going to have a harvest. And again, the abundance that we have. And when you come from scarcity and you live in a scarcity level, it's hard to rewire your brain to think that there's an abundance. And those are the things that, like, say, rewire my brain, right? There's an abundance out here for all of us, and versus scarcity. And you can look at things at your house that you do, maybe overbuy food, stock it up because of those fears that you had to do it. So that's what I liked about you. And there's so many
paper, everybody.
Right. Is to make sure that, you need that for sure. But you know what? Let me say, since you said toilet paper, let me bring this up real quick and tell me what you think. Because we are evolving. So when we do want instant gratifications or we do want our conveniences, we do evolve, and they're necessary for that, right? So that way, again, and the reason been saying toilet paper lately is because imagine if we never invented that. Somebody didn't invent that. Where would we be how would we still using the restroom, right? So we do like evolution. We do like that to make it more convenience. We do love our conveniences. And how do you separate having convenience versus instant gratification?
And then it goes into the grayer area of my convenience is out of the expense of somebody else's livelihood. And so there's those very real things too, that because we're living very conveniently here, for example, in the States, there's other places in the world right now that don't have these certain conveniences, like, or they have never seen them, you know? And so, for example, us driving a Tesla, it's out of the convenience of the lithium being, like, you know, taken out by these children. And those are very real things that we also try to talk about in the garden and stuff, because it's very real, and it's very, you can't remove yourself from the oppressions and from the extractions that are happening in the world, even though, like, we live far away from them. There's still little tangible things that we can do in our everyday. And so that's why, like, at the garden, it's really important.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, both Zuli and I are aware that we're complicit in some way as well, you know, and we're part of it as well. But we try to, again, be aware and challenge ourselves, and really try to make a difference within the community garden, you know. I think that's the main reason also of community building and being aware. It ties back into, like, like you said, the instant gratification versus the
let's just say the process, though, right? To see it. That's what gardening means, that, because there's certain things that you can't rush, right? There's things that are going to take time, right? And what you grow and how you grow and how it's going to, you know, blossom. Sorry, Junior.
So that's why it's just being aware of those that process, as, you know, being aware. The work. So the hard work that we do see, how do you implement? And I think that's what gardening's about, because it's the process. You want to see the harvest, right? And that's the metaphor that you could teach from, right? That you have to get in there, get your hands dirty. It's going to take a while. There's a little back breaking into it. Yes. But then when you get to eat those strawberries or the things that you grew, that's why I think there's such a, whether you're fishing or farming, when you grow your own stuff, when you harvest your own fish and you catch it, there's just something of our human being of that process that you went through. Same with fishing, figuring it out, catching the fish, slaying it, growing it, cutting it up, eating it. There's something inside of us, our I don't know, our caveman genetics or something that you still get that interior inside feeling.
Like right now that you were saying that, what I thought of was like a reciprocity. Like even if we're conscious of it or not, I think that's what it is. It's like, because you have to connect to the ocean, you have to be at peace with yourself in order to really know, like, okay, that fish is gonna, as far as I know, I don't know anything about fishing, you know, like it's gonna catch, it's gonna, like, you know, but I've noticed people are patient. You have to have so much patience to like fish. That's something that like us ADHDers maybe have to learn. But that's something that, like, even ADHD, for example, myself and I kind of joke about this, but we do kind of have those tendencies. But I think that comes from being in a very like just this world, how fast it is, and how we need to, like, that high scarcity, that high functioning, and like us not feeling enough. So then we have to like overcompensating. But like in fishing and gardening, you can't overcompensate. Like there's nothing more you could do or give. You could like keep trying to be the best, but it's not going to get that plant to grow any faster. It already has all that it needs, and it just needs time. Just like with fishing, you can like be pulling it out, right? But the fish is going to come until you're like nice and calm, still waters, so that it could. So there's like that. I feel like there's like
even when there's calm waters though, or things happen. This is with gardening too. Even if you do all that, sometimes you might not harvest anything either. Like you said, like sometimes they're going to rain on your crop. Yeah. Sometimes they're not going to get there. But once you get those disciplines in and you start to understand those processes again, then you could create it again. You could do it again and again.
The process itself becomes very healing, or very like
and then you can see, what did I learn from that, right? What did I do wrong? I didn't do anything wrong. It just, again, there was a storm that flooded and I could not prepare for that. You can go fishing and have all the right gear and everything looking in. The fish are on lockjaw, they're just not biting. But you just come back and try to problem solve and figure it out, and that's part of the teaching in life. And I think that's why we, besides again the gardening part, that there's just a philosophy in these things that makes you slow down and enjoy it, right? Again, I remember I grew one bell pepper, and I was so excited when I got to cut that one bell pepper up and put it in my spaghetti. And I forgot to water them. I just got some new plants again this last week that I'm working to try to water, but I killed time. And meaning, when I work at people's houses as an exterminator, I'd grab pieces of thyme and break it up and smell it, because I love the smell of the herb. And it's like a weed you can't kill. And I didn't water mine. We had like a heat wave, and I killed it. I'm like, how do you, this stuff just grows like a weed. How do you kill this plant? But I got one bell pepper, and when I cut it up, and that's what I learned, okay, maybe I'm not watering. Do I set a timer to make sure I get it watered on time? But I'm not going to quit, because I want to garden something. I like that feeling. And that's what fishing kind of does, is like, it's a problem solving. You get a chance to tinker too. I think that's a good part about gardening. something about using our hands, right? Getting down there and tinkering and using, but again, evolution, right? You do like your shovel. It does make it more convenient versus your bare fingers trying to claw out something. So that being said, but there's something to that time of that we have on the water and in the garden of like one with nature. No matter what God you believe in, I know when we're on the ocean, when the sun comes up over those islands, everybody's in a state of like, this is incredible. And the same with, I think, gardening. When you're in that zone and you hear the birds chirping and you see a hummingbird and you see it, there's just,
it's like a piece of heaven on earth. Like it's whether it be like in the ocean, or at the garden. So many people walk in.
It's a calming, right? How's that? Right, it's a calming
that we're in. And it's it is.
And then also, again, just creating that relationship with nature. You remember your bell pepper. I remember the first thing I grew that was also like amazing
it's like
to
your
me.
First child.
Right. Yes. And you now, like forever, you'll have that relationship with bell pepper.
Yeah.
You will.
And I remember it was it was like 3-sided, lopsided. It wasn't a store-bought pretty one. It wasn't aesthetically pleasing, but when you cut it up, it didn't taste like
aesthetically pleasing.
It didn't taste bland. You grew it. And you took care of it. And that's
I think I might have 3 tomatoes. I think I might have those little cherry tomatoes. So I threw it all in the spaghetti. I remember
I think one of the first things that I grew that I really paid attention to was a tomato, and such a difference in like the store-bought one to the one I grew. And so again, creating that relationship with nature, creating that's even the process of it.
And a goal, right? Accomplishment of a goal, something. And that's what fishermen do when they set out and catch this thing. I've learned how to bait my hook, especially on us taking first-timers out. This lady on the boat in Texas was like, as long as I learn how to use the gear, I'm happy. And sure enough, we caught Elizabeth the fish before we left, and she was over the top on, oh my God, I caught this one. And she was excited because the things that she wanted to, hey, I'm going to get out of this trip, I'm going to be happy with that, It didn't have to be an 80-pound tuna. She was just happy that she learned how to use the gear and she was able to catch it. And I got a picture, and that'll be part of the video. Okay, real quick. We'll talk about it. When you see this video at the premiere, then you'll see what we mean. And that's our brand, is to show setting goals, the process, figuring it out. If you don't know what you're doing, get an expert that can help you get better, right? And then the accomplishment of hitting your goal and that memory that lasts you a lifetime.
Yeah, and our goals, I think, for the garden are more of creating community,
Name the term community garden.
Yeah, community roots garden. Sharing knowledge with each other. Both Zuli and I are always saying that we're not experts of anything because we have a lot to learn, and we like to do things together. That's why we work together and, creating the community together and building that garden. There's so many other volunteers like Don Aviel, Chris, Don David, Florencia, that are part of the garden and that they grow food as well to share with community. And they also are, I think that they're the experts of like the garden. But those are,
I think you guys are experts at community though. So maybe, again, not so much, right? What your purpose is, right? Just like the garden has different tools and different things, and they're used for each one to make sure it flourishes. I think that's what, as many times you've shown up to some of our outdoor events and watching you guys talk and giving your tours, maybe you're not as a landscape, that part of it, but you guys are really putting an expertise of really bringing community together, which is in your name. So you're an expert in your field of what you're trying to accomplish, I think.
Yeah, I think, exactly. I would say, we're still like, don't put us on a pedestal type of thing. Don't romanticize.
But hey, look at you, smart gardening. I like to give people their flowers now. Give me your flowers. You give people their flowers.
Yeah.
And we need to learn to receive that too, because
I think
appreciate
I know that there's a lot of people out there who are doing the work like with the land, doing the laborious work, and that's super important. And we do some of that, but we also, like you said, like our main goal is community. That's what we're always like going after, and that's why we're at the garden, to share that space, to share that land with people like you, your organization, and other organizations, and invite people to create that, together.
And create. That's a big part of it, I think, that you get out of gardening or just in life that we need to have, is to be creative. When you look at our little sign right here about you can come in here and be creative. And again, if you go back to the things we were talking about, the PBS style that we're working on, right? And that you could be an inventor, you can be creative. Again, you could tinker, you could do all that stuff. And I think right now with a time where myself being one of those kids that wasn't super academic, but I could be a creator. And going back to that is such an important factor too, to contribute to the community there versus just your degree and being a scholar, that you could be an inventor and a creator and utilizing that. And then again, when you are an inventor or creator or a gardener, there is that process of elimination and there is that process of learning that's contributed to it, right? And I just think that really all ties in with the nature part, the satisfaction that we get, not the gratification, but the satisfaction that we have from the completion of working through those things and then figuring it out. Oh, again, go back to the drawing board, Watson, right? Or whatever, back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
I think it's also, it feels like a certain heart space too, being in community and working, because we're humans and you can't not be in community. That's why we have little families. Like, even
can't spell community without unity. Just to put that in there.
And then, and it's hard. It's hard to stay united. That's the thing that, like Adriana and I said, we're so lucky. We're best friends, and we're so lucky that it's two of us and that we both put in like our what we feel we're great at, and then we complement each other in our strengths and even in our weaknesses. But it's hard work. It's not easy. It's not easy to be in community and to choose to be in community continuously from like, my tomatoes getting taken, says Chris, like, you know, and his heart really, like, it hurt because those were like his prized possessions.
Somebody took his tomatoes?
Constantly.
They're not going to mind that tomato.
But like, it's constant there because it's an open garden. But that's also something that we've learned and that we've continued to have conversation with folks that, like, this is kind of a part of it. That's the aspect. And if unfortunately it's not something that you're willing to be okay with, then there's other spaces that we can connect you with where, like, you know, you have more security in that area, because that's also important for folks to feel good about it. But in this space, it's just, that's how it is. And that's the community that we're not trying to erase. It's a community that we're not trying to like ignore and pretend like it doesn't exist and like it's only like inclusive for those who are working it. It's like people walk in. That's just the reality of life. That's just the reality of the world. There's going to be people from different walks of life that are going to walk into your life. And how are we going to receive them? Because they're still here, they're still in our world. And so then we can't just exclude them because they look a certain way, because they're houseless, because they're using a substance, but it's because they're still in need of connecting. They're still in need of community. And so that's what brings them to the garden. They'll come and get their water. They'll come and get their connection and with us and be like, hey, Jesse, how you doing? They'll come and just get like, acknowledgement that sometimes like some folks just need, or some folks actually come and acknowledge the plants, which is also what the plants needed. Because I think we noticed, Adriana and I were in a little area, in a little corner area where we were putting like a bunch of strawberries, and that's kind of when we noticed a lot of folks that like walk by. And there was like one particular lady that would like walk by, and I could hear her like talking to the flowers. And then I think we waved at her once, and she's like, "I'm sorry," like that. And we're like, "No, thank you for doing that, because you're giving them." You have two different
life forces, like,
because we can do so much, but then there's like. Like you were giving us our flowers, right? Like you were acknowledging. That's what she was doing. She was giving flowers to flowers by just like giving them presents and being like, "You look so beautiful," and admiring them every walk.
You know, I see that with people too. Just follow me down this rabbit hole real quick. There's a movie that used to be called Flowers in the Attic, and people that isolate, that again shelter themselves, that don't get out to the community, they're just like more. There's a dark, you know what I mean? Where a flower has to have sunlight. It has to have things that are in them to nurture them to grow. And I think that's what the people too. And the people that love animals, right? Because they connect with them. People that love plants and gardens. And there is something about just different life forms that need each other. Because again, if we weren't, I mean, of course, God will water, flood, with the rains and the storms that come, and those are necessary too, just like in life metaphors that you have those things. But when you're growing your plants, that you have to connect with it, right? Like people tell me with the kids, oh, those kids need you. Well, I need those kids too, because they fill me back up too, right? And I'm able to say, okay, I have to conduct myself a certain way. I am this way. They're saving me, right? So I need them to help me, because that helps me be, you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense what I'm trying to say? So if you are somebody that's listening to this, and maybe you're one of those people that are sheltered or isolated, or you're trying to find the right community, or an emo kid, different things like that, right? That when you find, and that's why we say in our mission statement about you find the environment that you're comfortable around, you can flourish. So sometimes just by bringing something like a garden together, or fishing, because you have a common interest, you find people that you really connect with. So it's like it's an oasis, or it's a sanctuary
Yes.
for people to come. And that's how fishing, you know, people go fishing and be like, okay, now I met some new people that I didn't know, and it's a way for me to start conversation and have a common bond with somebody.
Yes.
Did you know, going back to Adriana's point of the mycelium, that mushrooms are more closely related to humans than they are plants? And you know what mushrooms do is...
Which ones are you talking about?
I mean, just in general,
Okay.
the mushrooms. Not, yeah. I mean, those are great too. But just in general, like the mycelium is that networking of like sharing resources, right? So Adriana is a beautiful, abundant tree. And then I'm a depleted little plant. Her network is going to know that I have abundance, so I'm going to just share some resources. And even if she doesn't, like, let's say that I came to connect with you, but in reality, like, this person is what has, like, more abundance for me. Like, that's what's going to be shared. And that's what happens literally in the garden, because we invite people to come in.
Is that cross-pollinating a little bit, you think?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yes.
It's like as above, so below, right? So the mycelium's happening below, as above is, like, all the pollinating that's happening.
Right.
Yeah.
And, like, because folks will come to see us, quote unquote, like, you know, they think. But in reality, it's like, no, you came to see Don Adiel. That's who you came to see. You came to meet Socorro. Oh, you came to meet this plant. Oh, you came to, like, meet Caro. Oh, you came, like, all these different folks that they thought it was us. But it's like, no, it's like, it's really just, it's the space and the connections that.
Well, I think that's what's important, because where you guys sit at, even though we have a lot of agriculture around us, some of us don't have yards and gardens, right?
Exactly.
So this is a place for you to come in and be one with nature. Because, you know, like even like LA or these other ones like brick cities, you know, that they don't get a chance to see the ocean and you don't get a chance to see nature. You're just like, that's your thing, you know what I mean? And so for you guys to put something like that in the middle of a community with the church, like the way it is important to find the land, to find a space inside of housing, right, or houses, right, inside of a what do you call it, residential housing neighborhood, you know, and do it to bring that so people that you can enrich that community, but again, but it's enriching it in that community, meaning touching so many others, you know, that are sprouting and going off. So that's neat, because otherwise people might not get a chance to put their hands in the dirt, like talking to those plants. And but the cleansing, you might have four. Same with fishing or the ocean. You could have four people there for four different reasons, right? Somebody just wants to smell the flowers. Somebody wants to walk around and lay in the grass. Some people want to sit under a tree, and then people that want to plant and garden. But there is a connection there. That's like the beach. You got people that walk by that watch the sunset. You got people that are surfing. You got people that are sunbathing. You got people that are swimming. You got people that are fishing. But they're all using that same place in the thing that they love to do.
Yeah.
When I think about what you're saying, I also think about, again, going back to abundance, like the garden there is one of many gardens here in Oxnard. So we have, I call it La Colonia Garden. I don't know if that's the actual name of it, but La Colonia Garden is also, it's a community garden.
Is that the one that's at the end of, that ends right there? Yeah.
Yes.
They always have nice sunflowers there. My son went to Pacifica High School, so I'd take that way. Or if I wanted to go over the 3rd Street Bridge to get to the 3rd Street Bridge, I'll take that way. But I always notice that garden right there.
Yeah, and there's so many community. There's a lot of community there as well, you know. And then we have Dr. Lopez Manuel garden on A Street. They call it A Street Community Garden too. That is also such a beautiful garden, you know. And I think the abundance of just having these gardens for community, you know, it also creates that network of mycelium of like, if you're here for this garden, great. But if you'd like to connect also with these other gardens, we can connect you to them as well. We know that there is, like, again, people come to the gardens for different reasons, and we like to connect them to where they fit best, where they align best, you know. We also want to...
See, I told you guys are experts.
So I think that's also, you know, for us, it's also sharing like other spaces like ours as well, you know.
Cross-pollinating. See?
Yeah.
And we're going to use that. We're going to kick the crap out of that one today. But that's what we need to do in life. And just because you're different than somebody, or you don't mesh with them, again, you're a tomato and they're a cucumber and they're a rose with thorns on them, but in the same little space in that green backyard, it's something about it, right? Literally, if you go near somebody, and I learned this again as I was an exterminator, seeing people's lavish gardens and what they do, and wanting to think what I want, because just those vibrant colors and the way they blend together, it just feels healthy. So right now we're going to get an aquarium, and I really went in there to ask the people about which fish to kind of put in there. You know, I wanted a crawdad and shrimp, like an ecosystem, and a shark. And we decided, and the guy used the term, well, you want community fish versus cichlids that are predators and Oscars, and how these fish are going to mesh together. And I thought, you got to stop. You're going to use the community. My name's Community Kevin, right?
I love
Community
cichlids,
Kev, right? Especially a convict cichlid, right? Like I was trying to find prison devos. Right? I'm trying to figure, you got a tank. It's like the Dave Yard. I mean, I'm like putting these other metaphors together. But if we're going to have a community take of differences in there that have to get along, then he helped us point that out, right? Yeah, I'd like the crawdad in there, but if he's going to eat everything else in there, maybe we shouldn't have it in there. Even though you show that's healthy ecosystem, I could use the food chain to teach, but for this particular one that we want to same with the community garden. We want to run a community tank, right? And they have to learn. And then, right, and somehow, but how some of them we have to put 2 or 3 because they function better. They're not isolated creatures, so they do need. So this particular guppy does need 2 of them, so they have a partner. Or these shrimps don't care. Like so, we kept walking back and forth through the aquarium, and then even how the lady, the specialist, is going to come set it up for us because I really want to put it in there. You know what I'm saying? But the point of the community health, growing together, living together, and you don't have to all be the same to live in harmony. You know? Yeah. It's like a garden, right? Again, you have the people that grow the corn and this, and anyway, and then it's funny how some things grow together and how they get that nourishment from one another, indirectly, directly. You know?
Yeah. So, plant companions and all that. Yeah.
That's what's up. See, so you need your companion. You know, again, that's funny how, again, if we did, because I use farming metaphor a lot in school, but the reason I do it though is just for process. If you're a dreamer, a visionary, you have to see those strawberries at the harvest time. But then how do you get who comes in when, right? So you planted them, you took care of them, you had to get the weeds out, somebody had to pick them, somebody had to put them on a truck, somebody had to drive the truck, somebody had to get the forklift, somebody had to manufacture it and put it in a little basket, somebody has to sell it. So he has all these different levels too that he has to bring in. He's not doing everything on his own either at that scale, right? Your own backyard. But even then, you still might need a specialist like the lady with my tank. Oh, I just give me a goldfish, I'm gonna throw it in the water, we're gonna have a fish tank. No, we want to have something that's has a different feel to it. So I'm going to pay her as an expert to help me. And again, that could be with gardening. Go in there and talk to the people. Hey, I want to grow this, and how does that look? So ask questions. You know, if you show up and I think as adults we get that way. This is like my life building moment in this podcast that we always do. Is that again, if you're not a specialist or an expert, that there are other people that would love to share knowledge with you too. Don't be afraid to ask for it and try to figure everything out on your own.
That's what we do. You know, like we both balance each other out. We both have different skills, and we're complementary. And then again, if we don't know something, we will ask Donavier, we will ask Chris, we will ask anybody at the garden, you know, or just get insight even from like our kids, you know. We have Shignal, which is Zuli's daughter. Like, we'll just ask her.
I like
you know,
her. She always has on both. When you get she had the tattoos and everything on, she loves it.
Yes, she does.
Yeah, so
she loves the ocean. So
so Shignal is also an expert at different things, you know, and just like even slowing us down at the garden when we need to slow down. And again, showing us different things. But
because they're like chill. Like kids are right when we're all in a hurry and go, and you see kids when they're just like. It's not that big a deal, you know. Like, you're right. You can learn from kids. That's why I need the kids too, because you can learn from like, see, I'm going too far. When you watch the kid, they just simplify things.
The whole reason that we're doing things, for the most part, that's propelling us is kids. So like, why don't we slow down and include them in the process, like you were saying earlier, right? When we were talking, like they're not including them in the process. We need to also do that, and that feeds our own inner child. Like, I didn't get to. Being in my imagination when I was a kid because things were just go. So now I have to like let me really figure this out and be curious. I think that's that curiosity, like what Adriana was touching on. Like once you lose that, it's like, what's the point? And we have to be curious about in relationships with our littles because we don't know everything, and it's a lot of pressure to want to know, like for them, you know. And so then if you do it more in like a curious way, like let's figure it out. What can happen? And that's how I'm trying myself to like always implement that curiosity in everything, because I feel like that's what keeps the connection of everything. Because we're different, but like curiosity is what makes like, oh, so that's how you do it. Oh, okay, cool. But if it's like, if it's more of like that's what you do, like there's no curiosity there, then that's where the connection just severs. And then there's like this uneasiness of like,
well, that's what I like about fishing, and even going back to that, I call it tinkering, right? There's a curiosity of tinkering, right? That you get to try a new lure, your favorite lure, or something like that, or figuring out and problem solving. But I think those two elements of fishing and gardening they keep your curiosity. What if I could grow that? And what if I tried this? And will this work? You know, and then, but if it's squashed when you're a kid, it's harder to get to it later. That's why I talk about that Peter Pan movie where he never wants to grow up, and that's why I said there's a kid in all of us. Come fishing with us. It's not just for kids. There's a kid in all of us, right? And then again, but you're already intimidated by this hook and this weight, and that's why we come along and say, look, you'll be a pro by 10. Look how easy that was. I'm like, oh my God, I figured it out. I problem solved. But it was scaring me at first, and blah, blah, you know, so. But you wanted to, but it looked intimidating, so it prevented you.
Yeah. So and I think that's for example, that's what Shignal does. Yeah. I think like she rips out a plant.
Almost time, Scotty.
She rips out a plant, you know, and then like other volunteers see or we see, and we're like, you know, but it's okay, you know, that plant will grow again. We can replant, you know. And I think Shignal, as like the baby of the garden, she's somebody who's actually like from the start getting connected to land. That connection to land, that's so important, but connecting to community as well.
Your plant, it's your seed too. So wait till she's going to do in 20 years.
Yeah. So that's our goal, like for the generations to like have this, like what Shignal is having. Yeah, that's our goal for like the next generations to have it.
Yes, because that's something healing for us, just to see her being exposed. So healing to a lot, like socorro, to our elders that come. They're like, wow, like I'm so happy to see her doing that, and that feeds our inner child that we weren't able to connect, you know. And that's the thing of like, it doesn't have to happen through us, but you can experience it through other people and still get that what was that S word that you said? Satisfaction? Yes.
Well, that's what's in with our kid program. You see the kids doing it all on their own and watching that moment and showing them through the process. That's when, again, it makes me raising funds and working with stat, the things that I have to do, because when we have our kid fishing day like we have this Sunday, when you get to see that, it's like, but this is what it was all for, you know? There's that satisfaction.
Like all that hard work, it was like, oof, that was nothing.
Watching those kids run up and down the pier and fellowship together and communities come together, autistic kids with foster kids and scouts, and these are all, now they're just a community. Nobody knows who they are. They're just 8, 9, and 10-year-olds running up and down the pier hanging out together, right? And I'm like, that's dope. And you get to see the inner looking of it. So anyway, we have to wrap this up. We're at 40 minutes. we do want to talk.
Let's get some basics real quick, though, because we don't have any basics. First of all, I love you guys' enthusiasm. It's awesome. Where do people find the garden?
Off of 1801 Joliet Place in Oxnard, California. Off of Gonzales, too.
Okay.
Right before you get to Oxnard High School.
And what are the hours?
They're Wednesday 1 to 4 p.m. and then Saturday from 9 a.m. to 1.
Yep. You know, we might start going with something like that here because we get more traffic on a Saturday. So we're looking at our changing, especially with our new facility. So, you know, how we still make an impact with the resources that we have too. But the last thing to let everybody know, we're going to have what's called a community extravaganza blue carpet premiere, and you guys will be a part of it. And that's going to come out in October. We just kind of finalized the date, October 19th, but there's going to be 3 showings between the Channel Islands Maritime Museum. There's going to be one at OPAC, another partner of ours, and so is the museum. And then you guys are a partner. So you can see what community partnership looks like, and it's a garden. The way we'll tie it in, one is going to be there, but you'll see how all these different parts in the community are working together. And then we have our interns that are filming this episode and working on it, so we're mentoring them on business development and multimedia. So we're going to do a premiere. It's going to be like little Canes Film Festival, 3 different locations throughout October. You guys will be a part of it, and that's why I was waiting to the end of the podcast to talk about it, because people could hear it now, and then we'll keep as storytellers as we're building up the anticipation, and we have our start releasing it and inviting people to come out. Again, that another way to highlight our partnership, you know. So
and give out your Instagram page as well.
Oh yeah, it's at Community Roots Oxnard on our Instagram. You can also find us on Facebook. We're not really as active, but you can find us there. Yeah.
And check it out, man. Stop by. Again, the Guppies will be there in 2 weeks. We got our plot out there. We're going to start planting some of our goods. And then again, when we have our blue carpet premiere, you'll know. And we're looking at working on some type of curriculum and stuff like that to when the kids come out again. We'll just have them based on process. You know, will be what we do when we come out there. So.
You could also read a little bit more about us on our website, which is communityrootsgarden.org. And it kind of explains a little bit about what it's about.
Yeah, who we are, what we do, and how to contact us.
CommunityRootsGarden.com, CommunityKevin.com. Go check out a couple of community pages and check us out. But man, again, it's something that it's blessed to have in our community, again, in our backyard. And then that's a lot of stuff that we talk about, the things that are in our backyard, and highlighting those on our podcast. Again, Real Radio, it's not always fishing. It's community, it's entrepreneurship, it's motivation, it's healing, it's wellness, all that under one roof. And again, we just want to thank you guys for coming in today. Again, I know we can keep going, so except there'll be a part 2 for sure, probably leading up to the opening. And again, thank you guys for sharing that with us, and we'll see you guys we'll be on your property in about 10 days.
Yeah.
All right, Scotty, we got to say.
Forward to it.
You gotta take us out.
All right, Barry, where's
Thank
Barry
you.
at?
Barry's right here.
So this is Barry, the California bear. And let you know in our new workbook, Coastal Critters, the dot to dot's going to be a California bear. So anyway, Barry, tell them, let's go. Let's go.
The Real Angler Podcast with community Kevin Brennan is brought to you by Daiwa. If you want innovation and quality in your fishing products, Daiwa has what you need. Costa Sunglasses. Discover life's greatest adventures with Costa. Built to look good and be tough. Promar and Ahi USA. Premium fishing products and accessories with concepts developed by passionate anglers. Channel Island Sport Fishing. Offering deep sea fishing on quality sport fishing charter boats. And more. Mossy Oak. From hot days in the water to sweltering afternoons in the woods, we've got you covered. Outfit your obsession. The Latino Business Expo, Ventura County's largest networking event. Special thanks to Bruce at Kirby Subaru in Ventura. This has been a Rough Edge Studios production.